So in this video, I wanted to share how I'd go about making ad creatives for a filtering showerhead company. This company is called Shower Labs. I actually know the founders, which is why I wanted to make this breakdown, because I tried to analyze their whole marketing mix and try to find the creative market fit, which I think would be most lucrative for these guys. I came up with a lot of different avatars. I also came up with a lot of different angles and also different formats, which I think that they should execute their content marketing in. So if you don't know Shower Labs, they're, as said, a filtering showerhead company. Competitors are like companies such as Hello Clean, also Jolly Skin, and they all rely a lot on these like dry skin angles and dry hair angles. Shower Labs themselves, they run some really nice ads. They're only in Denmark, where I'm also from, but I think they have huge potential in Europe, which is why I wanted to make this video, just to show like how to go about making ad creatives in that lens. So the first thing that I actually took a look at, more so than the actual avatars, was actually the angles and the formats, because in my opinion, at least, when I went to analyze like the showerhead market, like everybody like uses the shower, so it's pretty broad. Like there'd be different avatars and types of people that you could go to market with. They'd have their different angles and reasons for buying. So I've just broken it down to these three right here, to 20 to 35-year-old women, and this is very like playing into like skincare and hair and whatnot. And then we also have some like more broad for women and also more broad for men. And the reason why I like these two as well is because if I go over to this stage right here, if you think about the awareness stages, we'd be able to capture a lot of top of funnel with the ads that I had in mind for the broad women and the broad men. This one right here for the 25 to 35-year-old women, it's more so like for the more aware consumers. So they're probably like down here, and we're just targeting with like product aware or like problem aware ads, where they're like, okay, I know I have this problem, I just need to convert. But the TAM of like having more broad ads in the top of funnel, that's also the good thing about having such a product such as like a filtering showerhead, because every person could be using it in theory, because like everybody uses the shower. I hope so, at least. Like I hope. But yeah, going more into the angle specifically that we found. So we have this thing about creative market fit, where we want to have the right avatar or market. We want to have the right messaging, which is basically the angle of the ad, and then the right format to execute that angle in for that specific avatar that you had in mind. So specifically, if we nail the messaging and marketing, we will make sure that like we will resonate with the audience. So what I thought about when going into their ads library, when looking at Hello Clean, Jolly Skin, but also looking at Reddit and so on, was that specifically dry hair and that transformation from going from the before of having dry hair. Because if you don't know anything about filtering showerheads, there's a lot of things in the water. So the water is actually hard in a lot of places. So calling out the water is hard in this area, or your water might be hard, and then showing that, oh, I didn't know that my water was hot until someone told me, and then showing their hair transformation going from like dry and dull to basically looking fresh and clean. That's like the first thing, and I think that would work really well, obviously, for the women. Then we have the second lens, which is the eczema, dry skin, redness, etc. You could in theory also apply these to men. I'd probably lean more towards doing it for women, and in all ages. I think this angle would work so well as well. If you go in and look at like some before and afters here, and just showing like this is how disgusting your water might look, and this is how your skin could look, or this is how your skin might be looking, and this is how it could look, focusing on like the hydration of the skin, less redness, less acne as well. There's a huge market here, and if we go back to like the TAM of these different angles, like that's the good thing about having such a broad product, or you could at least frame it as like a broad thing, is that the angles and probably also the efficacy of those angles, they're pretty huge. So I really like that angle as well. And then for men, I think a huge one would be thinning hair. So there is a lot of men with thinning hair, obviously. Not to say that I'm one of those, but in general, a lot of men will have thinning hair, and just framing it as this showerhead might be able to help you with your thinning hair, because the water is not so hot, and you don't have all of these bacteria, you don't have all of these pesticides in the water, which would in theory thin your hair. that's like the main angles. And there's a joker, which I put up to the side here. And that's just to have a call out on pesticides, heavy metal, and so on in your water. Because if you showed a graphic to people and you told most people there's pesticides, heavy metals, and this is how your water looks like, not talking about like eczema, dry hair, or thinning hair, but just showing like heavy metal in water. I'm not even sure if I'd be able to pull a picture, but like showing this to people, I think most people would find this disgusting. I know I would. So if you can just show that in a before and after and tell them this is what you shower in every day because you don't use a shower like filter, I think that would make a lot of people buy, like without sort of just going too much into the problem solution. Like they can see the problem right here. Like you don't have to tell them, oh, you get cleaner hair and whatnot. Like you can just show them this is what you shower in. Like what are you doing? Like please fix something. So that's like the main angles. So that's the market, that's the messaging, but most importantly, in my opinion, is the format. So this is where you see like a lot of marketers, they have the market on point and also the angles, and they're really smart with that. But where you have the benefit of working either with a creative agency or creative people in general is that they often tend to understand the format, which consumers, they consume their content in natively. They have a good idea of trends, and I think that's the efficacy part of the ads. So if you have, as said, the angle and the avatar, you'd resonate with the market. But if you just show them such a shit ad, like it wouldn't matter, because they wouldn't care to watch it and they wouldn't care to convert. So the format is really everything in my opinion, and that's like one of the most overlooked and most important things to nail. So 3 different ones which I like, which I think that shower labs or filtering showerhead companies out there that's watching, like you should definitely go consider these. The first one would be the how much do you pay for rent concept or format, sorry. I think this is so good and so huge. So basically, if you don't know what it is that you go up to a stranger, I can't like recall what his name is. He's the one starting the trend, but he just goes up to strangers and asks them how much do you pay for rent. But instead of going in and touring their apartment, I'd much rather just go in and like something to the effect of, do you know the quality of your water? And then go in and test the quality of the water in different people's homes, and then show them before and after of what it looked like having that showerhead filter and using the normal ones, and being like, going back to this one right here, like you don't even have to tell them, because it's just like, it will probably just be so disgusting to them that their water is like similar to that. Next one would be a native creator UGC format, just a good old girly talking about the product, how she fell in love with the product, how she had her transformation with the specific product, the problem she had, and most importantly, before and after pictures. That's super, super important. And that's also like the next one. That's for the thinning hair specifically. I'd not do a testimonial mashup, I'd do a testimonial demo. So that's a mistake on my end. But basically just having this man show like him going through thin hair, or even leading with this is the outcome. So showing his hair up front of like, my hair is now regrown. And then afterwards showing this is what my hair looked like before, and this is the demo of the product that made this possible. So he'll then go into pretty much just showing you how to use the product, how it looks like the before and after of the actual filters, because that's a big thing. Like these filters become so disgusting when you've used them for a while. So I think this example might show it, and I'm not even sure if this is the same filter. It's just something called a PP filter, but pretty much it goes from just being clean and white, as you saw over here, to just disgusting, like brown, even like dark brown, black. And obviously if people saw that, it'd just be like, what am I even like doing with my hair? Like obviously that would lead to X, Y, Z problem. If I saw that I had my that the water affected the filter like this, and I showered my hair with that, I'd feel like obviously my hair is thinning, or at least like attribute my hair thinning to like, okay, there's a problem here, which I could just attach that to. So I think naturally that's a good way of doing it. So going into this, we actually came up with these 3D concepts because we wanted to mix these different angles, these different avatars with these different angles, with these different formats. So there's really like 3 big concept ideas, which I think would be good. And that's the how much you pay for rent. And obviously that appeals to a very broad segment of the market. So going back to the circle of here of Tam, like this isn't like a little minuscule avatar of like either a, as we also have the 20 to 35-year-old, obviously that's a big avatar, but like this would appeal to everybody, especially because the format itself is so trendy of having the how much do you pay for rent. That's an organic format which gets millions of views, probably like on all of the videos being put out specifically from this creator, sorry. So I'd just use that and then obviously call out the pesticides and heavy metals. Because we are targeting such a broad avatar, this is like for the unaware stage specifically, because like think about this is the perfect format for getting more people into like your top of funnel. And I think that's a really good lens of looking at it. If you're covering a lot of trending organic formats, that's super good for getting more people into your top of funnel, like the unaware people who might even know that they have either issues themselves, but also that there could be issues with their water. So think about it like you're just building like a huge top of funnel, and then obviously down here, that's where the money is. But just like that's also, I said, why we want to just call out the most general thing. We don't want to call out like dry hair and dry hair transformation. We don't want to call out eczema or thinning hair. Like imagine you go up to a stranger and then you go to their place and you test the water and you're like, this is the reason why you might have eczema, or this is why your hair might be thinning. It just wouldn't make sense. I think it's much better to just show the pesticides and the heavy metals in that before and after to just build that like extreme big top of funnel. Then obviously there would be like a subsection of those people who would just immediately go by and be brought down the funnel and the buyer's journey and go through that. There's also people who might just then start knowing of your brand, and then later down the line they might end up buying because they have one of the other angle issues. So the next concept is the native creator UGC. It could start off with like a hook such as my hair was beginning to get dull and still, and then obviously show the hair in a bad state and how to monitor the shower head afterwards in like a demo, but also again that before and after, that's huge. I'd go for this specifically. It's like a girly format of like the native creator UGC, specifically for a lot of women. They have a really good way of executing these types of UGC videos where it's just super organic and something that I believe girls share with each other. So the 25 to 35-year-old woman, and then either really you could go with one or two angles. I'd probably start with the dry hair one because I've seen that from this brand Shower Labs, but also from competitors. That's working probably the best. I don't have any data to support that. That's just my guess. And then afterwards going to eczema, dry skin, redness, and so on. There probably also will be, if you think about it in the future, once like that's tapped out and there'll be a lot of competition, there will be opportunities for having even smaller like angles inside of these big angles. So I'm not sure if I can make this even more potent, but like, can I make this more potent? Okay, I'll make this green. So think about this little green circle here inside of the big circle. So the big concept on big angle might be dry hair, but there might be like another subsection of that, of like dry hair, which is a specific condition which maybe 10,000 people in the world has, and that becomes so specific. And if you can call that out, like the more specific you can be in the ads, the higher the efficacy probably, because people will just feel as though you're talking directly to them and that you know like the exact pain points that they're dealing with, and you can then position yourself as the solution to that. So the better that you can speak into the problems of your audience's like problems in their own words, the higher the chance of you converting them into customers. I heard Hermosi say that recently, which is also why I wanted to double down on that point, because I actually think it's a super legit way of looking at it. So yeah, just make sure that like if you tab out an angle, you can always, or you can a lot of the times go more specific on that before you start pivoting to like another avatar format or whatnot. So yeah, that's just a little side tangent, but I'd go with first the dry hair and the transformation for that, and then eczema, dry skin, redness, etc. And then obviously as we max it out, or competition starts to increase, we can go more narrow, for example on a specific subsection of dry hair, eczema, dry skin, or a redness condition which the shower filter might solve. Last concept is specifically for all the men out there, and this would be executed in the before and after testimonial demos. So as I also said before, a close-up of the regrown hair, and then cut to the clip with the old hair, and then afterwards show how to like set up the product, how to install it, and also how to use it. Again, I think the PP filter will be huge in just showing this is what you're like putting your hair through every single day. No wonder your hair is thinning, and just have it like almost seem logical without, there's no connection between the two. Like I could, like you wouldn't know if you put your hair through this that your hair was thin, but just logically it just doesn't look good. And I think people connect those dots, and they probably will be like, probably not super helpful for my hair, and I am dealing with this, why not just buy it? So as said, this would target the broad men, thinning hair, and you could start with something like, guys, I just wanted to use this, fuck, my hair is growing back, what, something like that, I don't know. The important thing with this is that it would be a testimonial, in my opinion. I think that would, especially for the male audience and thinking about the efficacy of going to market with the new concept here, I just wanted to use a testimonial, specifically if the product actually delivers this outcome. I'd much rather use a testimonial in the hook, also in the body, showing the before and after, even the after and before, and then the demo, as I said, and then playing that out. So those are like the three main concepts that I would go to market with. Probably for this brand, like there's so many different concepts that you could go and play with. I have no data to the ad account and like what's working and whatnot. I think this would be super good for underwear. I think this is like if you just have good execution on this concept specifically, you would rinse, because it's just like, it's proven. So many people have this working, just like tweaking or shifting around with the creators, having someone who looks differently, who might be prettier, who might be not as pretty, or like how good they are on camera. That's a huge leverage point in terms of the ad's efficacy. And then obviously just going even deeper on these specific angles and going into sub angles. And then like this concept for the men, I think that's a huge one, which most brands, Jolly Skin, Hello Clean, and probably not even Shower Labs have tested. Might be for a reason, but I think there is a huge TAM for not only women and like their dry hair and their eczema, but targeting the equivalent on the male side, which is like thinning hair. That's like the biggest, not taboo, but like if there's anything as worse as like having dry or losing your hair as a woman, it'd probably be thinning hair as a man. So there'll probably be a huge market for that as well. So those are my 2 cents on how I'd make ad creatives for Shower Labs, a filtering showerhead company, how I'd go about scaling their creative market fit. Maybe not even finding it, but potentially scaling that. So if you found this valuable, let me know. And if there's any other brands that you want me to do a breakdown of, let me know. If there's any other videos that you want to have me make, whether that being something super specific that you have in mind, if it's some AI stuff, if it's some system stuff, if it's something that we're doing in the agency behind the scenes, let me know. I'm all for creating more content that you guys find valuable. And yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I appreciate you, and I hope you found this valuable. Bye.